Hey everybody, Dimitri here with Serg Supply with another helpful video, and today we're going to talk about wiring your puck lights and integrating them with your dimmer switches. Let's dig right in. Before I begin, let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, our forklift propane is covered in cardboard. The thing gets too dang hot in the sun and we need it. And yes, I am in fact wearing a new apron after some comments from some very valued friends and family. I have upgraded from less of a ragtag look and more of a polished, waxed apron look. So thank you guys for the feedback, whether it be about the cabinets or about how homeless I look when I film these videos. Regardless, let's dig in, shall we? All right, so let's kind of dig right into what would show up with the ceiling kit. Ignore these items right here for a minute. We're just going to talk about this box. You're going to get likely one or two of these with every ceiling kit you order on our site, whether it be ProMaster, Transit, or Mercedes Sprinter. And I'm going to open this exactly how it comes. A few things to note: the actual color, voltage, all that are on this tag on top of the box. But once you get inside, let's talk about some of these components. Number one, we call this guy a ballast. It's like a distribution plug. You can get up to 6 different lights plugged into one of these. Set it aside. You're going to want to save that. Part that everybody seems to throw away, or sometimes they'll plug in and not know what it's for and wonder why their lights don't work. This is a transformer that will step the 12 volt to 110 volt. So if you're powering it through AC power, this is what you're going to use. Most of these vans are 12 volt DC, so you can kind of just throw that out of the way. And then the last items in here are going to be the puck lights. Now, I get we have other videos talking about these pucks and what makes them special. I'll quickly just gloss over, the main points here. Number one, these plug into the ballast, so you can get multiple in one. Number two, they pop right into the pre-drilled holes on your ceiling kit using these springs right here. Number three, these are actually disassemblable, so you can go ahead and get these painted black, gold, rose gold, whatever tickles your fancy. And then you got the actual puck light LED core inside. So that makes up your puck lights. Let me talk to you a little bit about how we wire them and why we do so. So first and foremost, when you're installing your ceiling kit, we tend to put the puck lights in when we put in rows 1 through 3. Usually your puck lights are on rows 2 and 3. Sometimes they're in the center, but what we'll do is we'll toss this wire right through that hole, punch these in, and this is where things kind of get tricky. So I'm going to do this live on the video right now. Let me undo this little thing, and now we've got our puck light wiring. Try not to tangle it up. But each puck light comes with 5.5 feet of wiring, which is cool. It's actually a little bit more. I have a 6-foot wingspan. As you can see here, maybe we're closer to 6.5 feet. 6.5 feet sounds great. Let me be honest, it's not enough. We can't really make these longer, nor should we, and let me explain why. All of our ceiling lights typically get broken up into 2 separate zones. So we'll put 4 lights in the back, 4 in the front, or 3 in the front, 3 in the back. Of course, each of them with their, pair set, but your 6.5 foot cable is not going to reach the full length of your van. If you have a Sprinter 144, you might get lucky and meet it in the middle of the van where you can plug them all into this ballast. More than likely, that's not going to be your luck. More than likely, if you have a 170 or a 159 or a Transit 148, you're only going to be able to get maybe 4 of these puck lights into each of these ballasts. Now, you're going to have 2 of these ballasts, so you can have one for the front, one for the rear. But a general tip and trick would be to run 2 separate wires for your puck lights. I'm going to dive in a little bit about how we do the dimmers later. It all makes sense, but you're going to want to run 2 different wire leads, maybe coming from the same dimmer, one to the front, one to the rear. We usually do 16 or 18 gauge. I would, measure depending on the length. Of course, get tendon braided marine grade wire. But once you run those 2 leads, you're going to connect them to these. Now, the plug on the end of this, I'm gonna cut right here, but let me talk to you a little bit about this plug. I'll get a closer shot and we'll dig in. Okay, so I've got this actual distribution block, ballast, whatever you want to call it, the 6 plug harness here. And we've got this plug on the end of it, which seems good and well. If you're going to use it for 110 volt power, it'll pop right into here, but let's be honest here, you're probably not going to need this. So we'll throw it to the side. I will show you the state-of-the-art solution we have for these plugs, if you're ready. Number 1, you grab the plug, get a firm grip. Number 2, you just kind of pull without hurting yourself. And now we've got these ends. Now we're going to snip them and we're going to strip some nice clean wire off. And then at the end of the day, we're just going to put some Wagos on. And that's all we do for this. There's nothing complicated there. There's no reason to get complicated. Just be safe. Maybe wear gloves when you're doing what I just did. I've got calluses as thick as some of the metal in this shop. Just kidding. I'm mostly behind a keyboard now. But regardless, this is the easiest way to do this thing. Now, red is generally going to be this brown lead right here. So when you're wiring these, the polarity matters. If you get it backwards, the wires or the actual puck lights, they just won't work. But try to get the blue lead into your ground and the brown lead into your hot. And we're actually going to go through this whole thing today, plug it in, test it out, and I'll kind of just walk you through step by step. So now that we've got this part situated, I'm just going to go ahead and plug one of my puck lights in. There's no need for me to unbundle all of them. But we've got our puck light situated, we've got our ballast plugged in, we ripped off the useless plug and put our Wagos in place. I'll just open these guys up and get them ready for the next lead. But yeah, let's move on to the dimmer now. All right, now I've got all my parts here. I'm honestly just going to run through this live. No real preparation here. I might make some mistakes, but I'll just go through it as if I'm in the van. So I've got all my stuff here. I realize I've got these Wagos on the end of this ballast that I don't actually need because my dimmer already has them. And if you look closely on this dimmer, there's going to be labels on each of these wires. There's an input label and an output label. Let's start with the output first. So it's going to be the short guy. Like I said, I've already got these fittings on here, and I'm going to go ahead and look for the wire with the dark stripe. That's going to be our ground. I'll put the blue cable in there. Awesome. And then the other one has to be our hot lead. So there you go. We're all done there. And as you may notice, I've got this new state-of-the-art van electrical system from Milwaukee. Just kidding, it's just a 12-volt battery, but what I'm going to do is put these super high-level aircraft-grade fittings inside of the battery to get a nice 12-volt power supply, and we're gonna plug it into the input and just see how it goes. All right, so I had to grab a different battery actually because this one's already labeled with, you know, plus and minus, whereas this one, kind of gambling on camera here, don't really want to do that. But I'm going to connect my leads first, connect it to the battery next, just to be safe. So let's find that striped lead again. That is going to be this guy here, which is going to be our ground. So put that in place. And all I'm doing here is kind of recreating your power system, whether it's Victron, Renogy, EcoFlow, whatever have you. Safe practice, at least on my behalf, I like to put the ground in first and then the power in after. And if all goes well, and I'm not completely full of crap here, you'll see a blue light. Look at that. Awesome. Nice blue light. All right, so we've got our light plugged in. We've got our dimmer plugged in. I'm going to go ahead and tap it. Awesome. We have light. Let's see if I can get this in frame, blind the heck out of you guys. Tap and hold. It's going to dim. Awesome. Tap one more time, and we're turned off. On, off. All right, it's getting annoying now. So there it is, guys. Nothing really complicated here. It all kind of fits super easy, plug and play. But we do get a lot of questions on these fittings and whether or not you need them, whether you should have them. Hopefully this simplifies this a little bit for you. When you guys are taking this apart or testing, I would recommend doing something like this outside the van before you go crazy. Please excuse that airline. Do something outside the van, test out your stuff, make sure it works, make sure all your puck lights are the way you want them. You got your polarity right. You can even label the polarity if it helps you out. But this should save you a little bit of time in the long run. All right, so I've stolen a ceiling panel from a different order. Sorry if your name is Jeff and you're missing parts. Just kidding, I'll put it back. This is a good way to look at this actual cutout right here. So this channel is what I refer to in a lot of the videos for your wiring to pass through. You're gonna see this on row 1, so you can kind of converge your wires into the center of the van and run it through the cutout here over all the beams to the front. That way your wiring doesn't get hung up and push your ceiling down. That's what that's for. You can run max air fan wires through here, you can run puck light wires through here, but the idea is that you can get plenty of these guys through this channel effortlessly, combine them, whether it be 2, 4, 6 lights, you know, splice your wires together with Wagos, cap it off, and call it a day. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video helpful. I hope you enjoyed it, and maybe it provided a little more clarification as to kind of how you actually do the wiring realistically in your van when you're getting your job done. So without further ado, I'd like to thank you again for sticking around, watching the video. If you have questions or comments, please leave them below. If you want to pick up a puck light set or a dimmer set, we've got links to those in the description. And as always, thanks for watching and happy building.